In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Localized Dialogs and Cutscenes plugin, version 2, which now comes with many new features such as new dialogue styles, the library, tokens, actor and scene layers, custom audio channels, and lots more cool stuff. If you've never seen this before, I'd recommend you starting with the first video, which explains how to install the plugin and the basics of how everything works. But if you've already seen that, or you already have the plugin and you're checking out what's new in version 2, keep watching. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new dialogue UI. This is an empty scene. So here's our new dialogue UI object. For those of you who might remember from version 1.5, the dialogue cast no longer is part of the dialogue UI game object. That's been moved over to the new dialogue library. And as we create a new library, it just kind of reminds us that we should set it up as a prefab, as that's going to help us out a lot during the development, and it allows us to get rid of it right at the end of the game or project or whatever it is that we're making. And what that will do is it will free up some more memory in your actual finished application. So that's always a good thing. So we'll say OK, and here's our dialogue library. It consists of the casts, which some of you may remember, and the new dialogue scenes component, which is very similar to the cast, except it's used for backgrounds and scenes. So what we'll do is we'll create a prefab, and we're going to call this dialogue library, just to keep things simple. So you can see this has now become a prefab. So what we'll do is we'll set this up, because this is going to help us out a little bit later on. So the first thing we're going to do is set up some portraits for the dialogue cast. So we're going to call this the portraits group. So we're going to set up our first actor, and in here somewhere I have some images, and the first one I'm going to do is myself. Going to be a bit vain, so we'll call this Giorgio. So that will be part of the cast. Whenever we try and browse for new objects, these cast groups and textures will be available within the actual setup of the dialogue screens. This is going to save loads of time from having to dig around in your Unity directories and finding, you know, the right textures and stuff. You'll see what I mean as we continue a little bit more. We're gonna throw in this guy. We've got a few kind of Space Marines and random stuff that I found online from the Warhammer universe. Those images aren't gonna be a part of the actual download of this plugin. It's only here just so I can kind of show you guys a demo and, you know, the kind of things you can do with it. But yeah, just a quick disclaimer, it's Games Workshop that owns those. Anyway, moving on, we're going to call this guy Captain Titus. I'm kind of cloning a tech demo that I threw out there a few days ago. Okay, so we've got a bunch of stuff set up in the library now, and what we can do is we've actually got everything set up so we can actually start building some dialogues. So what we'll do, we'll create a new one, create a new dialogue from up here in the menu. So we have a new dialogue object down here. One thing I actually forgot to do was apply the library to save it as a prefab. We're going to start by explaining what tokens are and how we can use a new dialogue style, the data entry dialogue style specifically, how these two features work together. So the idea of data entry is to grab some data, obviously, from the user in the form of an import box, and we're going to grab, in this scenario, we're going to actually try and get their name. So we're going to basically ask the player to give us their name, and we're going to apply this name to a token. Now, a token is kind of like a simplified variable, which we can then pull up in future dialog screens, and we can use the information we pulled from the user and put it back into the dialogs. And also you can actually use scripting to ask the API what those tags were, and you can actually use them outside of this system too, which is pretty cool. So what we'll do, we can see that we've set up the data entry style, but it's saying to us that we can't actually set up the specifics yet because we don't have any tokens set up. So the way we do that is we go over to the dialog UI component, which is over here, and we can add a new token. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this one the name player name. And so that's basically all there is to set up a token. So all we've done is we've said that we have a token called player name, which we can now set using the data entry style. So if we turn this into an autoplay dialog and then press play, we'll get an idea of what the data entry screen looks like. So here you can see that it says enter your name. There's nothing written in here, but I can type some stuff and I can press OK. And this is basically what the screen looks like. I can affect its position by saying that I want this box to be on the bottom, the middle, or the top of the screen. If I just stop that, it's asking me what token do I want to set. So basically, from the data that we pull from this screen, where do we want to put it? What token do we want to put it into? So we only have one token right now, and that's player name, so that's fine. It's asking us what data format it is. Do we want it to be a text or a number? As we're trying to get their name, text makes sense there. Character limit 25, that just means that we limit that text box to only have 25 characters. This obviously can be changed. Default value means do we want that original edit box to be auto-populated with something else? So in this case, I'm going to write player as the default player name. Custom button label just means what do we want the button to be called? So we can say enter, anything will do here. So yeah, if we go over to navigate as well and just say that the next screen is going to be number 2, that's fine. We don't actually have a screen 2 yet, but that's fine for now. So if we press play, you can see that it says enter your name. Player is the default value in the box. We have the enter button right there. So that's pretty cool. So if we change this to, say, I don't know, Mike or something, and say enter, what's actually happened is at this point the token player name is now called Mike. So what we'll do, we'll show this in action by creating a new screen. So you can do that by clicking add new screen down here, and we'll finally get to use the cast. So we'll say view cast, and we'll have me talking, and we'll say hi, and then with a $, which means we're using a token. Hi player name. I'm going to tell you a very short story. So what this means here is that we're actually calling the system to pull a token called player name. Now, and that's what that little $sign means. So we can actually have that in the title or the dialog text, and that will work fine. So what will happen now, let's also say that this is the last dialog. So if we see what's happening right now, we'll press play. So it's asking for our name. We'll change this to Mike, for example. We'll click enter, and it will say, hi Mike, I'm going to tell you a very short story. Now check it out, we actually wrote player name, and the system changed player name into the token. So that's pretty cool. So if you're using this to build visual novels and and stuff like that, you can actually build up quite a lot of cool stuff. You can use it to grab a player's name, grab their age, set up kind of status for armor and weapons and stuff like that. You know, it's very, very flexible. Whatever you can come up with in your imagination, whatever makes sense for your game, it's very, very flexible to use. And also externally, you can actually call on the tokens and pull them out, so you can actually set your own variables to the values of the token names through the API, which is quite simple. But yeah, that's how tokens work, and how you can use the data entry screen to set the tokens. So we're going to move on, and we're going to actually kind of build like a mini story here, well, a very, very, very mini story, and we'll get to show how the actor and scenes layers work, and even the custom audio channels.